Well, 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 who would have thought it? Argyle are still in this scrap for survival at the foot of the championship table. Late drama and victory last weekend made sure of that. But with the Easter doubleheader to come, they'll need to start finding some consistency. Only once this season have Argyle managed to string back-to-back victories together. That fluctuation in performances is one of the reasons that they find themselves in the drop zone and have been there since December. But victory today against a Middlesbrough side who themselves are struggling for form could see them on the cusp of getting out of the bottom three. Once again, we have another massive game in store and all of the action is coming your way on Argyle TV. Hello, good afternoon. I am Charlie Price and this is the pre-match show from Matchday Live on Argyle TV. We are getting towards the crunch end of the season and Argyle are still in there. Sometimes it's the hope that kills you, but that hope is well and truly alive, but has been misplaced in the past. Will they be able to get a little run together to save themselves and ensure they're playing championship football next season? Speaking of championship football, Middlesbrough don't want to be playing that. They want to be up in the top leagues, playing in the Premier Division, Premier League. They need to get back to winning ways as well after back-to-back defeats. So all in all, a huge game in store for us this Good Friday. Match passes, incidentally, both video and audio can be purchased online right now. pafc.co.uk is a place to get them so you won't miss a thing. Joining me for all of the build-up from the Riverside Stadium is the former Argyle defender, Mark Edworthy. It feels like we've been here before, Mark, many a time, where Argyle just get themselves in it, and it's now just about converting and well and truly being in the scrap with just 4 games to go.
Incredible, Charlie, how it's come around so quickly. 4 games to go this bank holiday weekend, isn't it? Easter weekend. Lots of twists and turns. We obviously just seen one early kick-off with Luton managing to turn over Derby. I didn't see that coming. I thought Derby would actually beat them. So lots to play for, 4 games to go. And today, as you quite rightly said, against Middlesbrough, this is a huge game. Middlesbrough need to win to get themselves back into that contention of playoffs, to get back into the Premier League. And obviously Derby losing today gives us slight advantages maybe if Argyle go and win, but lots of twists and turns. Yeah,
lots of twists and turns and ifs and buts and all of these things.
Yes, of course.
Looking at the table then very, very quickly, because of that Derby loss that you mentioned to Luton, it means that the bottom of the table has Argyle there with 40, Cardiff with 42, both still to play today, and then Luton and Derby locked on 43. So if Argyle were to get just a second away win of the season, Mark, they will be level on points with Derby and Luton heading into the final.
Yeah, it's incredible. I think what we talked about there, the only downside from that is, yes, it's going to be great to get level on points, but that, unfortunately, that goal difference acts as that extra point, doesn't it? So it's almost like another win to get us out of it completely. So it's so close down the chart, as you rightly said. See what the rest of the results are going to happen this afternoon, but all that can happen this afternoon is Plymouth take care of themselves up at Middlesbrough. You can't rely on other teams, and I think that's the case against Sheffield United. An amazing result to go and beat one of the favourites to maybe get promotion. The roof came off at home park. Incredible scenes. But at this stage of the season, Charlie, you've got to back it up. Yeah. You know, you can't just... We haven't done it all season. We know we've been really tough on the road for us this season. If you've got to do it and get the results, you've got to do it now.
Yeah, absolutely. Last weekend's win should be giving them such a huge amount of confidence going into it. But as you say, back-to-back victories, away victories have been rare. Only the one away win, which was against Portsmouth a month ago. But those Argyle players know they're in a bit of a battle, and they showed that. They showed that fighting spirit, and let's just hope they'll be able to do it again later this afternoon. Let's take you to the Argyle team, actually. Let's get to it, shall we? Head over to the Riverside, and there you go. There's the Argyle side. So a couple of changes made by Miron Muslic. Joe Edwards, the captain, comes in for his first start under the new boss. And Darko JB also in, replacing Callum Wright, who drops to the bench. So potentially a bit of a change of shape for Argyle with JB coming in as a midfielder. We'll have to wait and see how that plays out, Mark. But Joe Edwards, we are so often see him being Argyle's hero, coming up with big goals at the end of seasons. It was a year ago today that we beat Shrewsbury late on to help get promotion a couple of years ago. Joe Edwards scored that day. He scored, obviously, the winner against Hull last season. He's been there and in the moment for a lot of huge Argyle memories. And he'll want to create another one this year, won't he?
Yeah, certainly will. First, obviously, game back. Captain Marvel, isn't he? Leads by example. Was unfortunate to be out for such a long time with that hamstring injury. But interesting, obviously, going with that sort of back five and Ballymumba, who was outstanding against Sheffield United. And obviously, Joe Edwards coming in. Is it something like Morgan Whittaker might drift on that side? When we see the Middlesbrough side, I think we already know that he's playing today psychologically, but that's going to be one hell of a task for him to try to contain Morgan. But he needs to prove to himself that he's in good form, because he hasn't been in the starting lineup for much. But Joe, as we see with the clips, he
impacted Saturday's game against Sheffield United massively, didn't he, when he came on?
He certainly did. I think just his influence, not only just on the field but off the field as well. Like I say, leads by example, the captain armband, and he's in the twilight of his career. And I think just before he got injured, was playing some of his best football. Yeah. So great to see him back. And obviously, what he does when he's fit as well, he gives the manager a bit of a headache, because they're probably potentially thinking, with his age and that sort of thing, there's younger players, and maybe you're not going to get any more players enthusiastic than Joe Edwards. And just these clips here just epitophise what he's all about, really.
Yeah. It is amazing to think that it is just his first start since Miran Muzic came in. He's been back maybe for like two months. But the form of Matti Soronola's kept him out. Ballymumba playing in that role as well. He's not had the opportunity to shine, but he got 45 minutes on Saturday. And as we saw from those clips, he impacted the game, whether it was just putting Michael Cooper off or slamming into a challenge, got the assist for Hardy's goal. He always seems to be there. And, it proved enough, evidently, that he's given the starting berth today as well.
Yeah, for sure. I think just that experience, Charlie, that's what it is on the field. He is a presence on the field, of course, which you need. Captain's influence. I'd say Matti Soronola being out injured is a real blow, because I think he was in magnificent form. Obviously, he's ruled out for the rest of the season. So having Joe to come back with his experience is, only can be good for the manager and the football club, because that driving force which we need in these 4 games could be vital.
Yeah. Incidentally, Julio Plagathuelo, making his 50th start for Argyle today, was voted Player of the Month for March. He's been in sparkling form as well. Let's take a look at the Middlesbrough side then. As Mark has mentioned, Michael Carrick knows that they need to get back to winning ways, because they've just slipped up of late. Just the one change shown from a 1-0 defeat against Millwall. It sees Bergzog drop to the bench and Marcus Force come into that front line, which includes 2 former Plymouth Argyle players in Morgan Whittaker and Finn Azaz. We know what both of these two can do, Mark, wherever they play, how strong they can be, how they work together as well. We've seen it in a green shirt. We're going to see it in a red of Middlesbrough today, and they're obvious threats for Argyle to have to look out for, aren't they?
They certainly are. I think when both players were in the green of Argyle, they're magnificent. Great understanding with each other, great rotation. Finn Azaz he just finds those pockets and scores some magnificent goals here at home park and away for Argyle. And obviously we know all about Morgan. Some of the goals he scored at home park and became a fan's favourite was magnificent. And as you said, their understanding, whether that was in Michael Carrick's thinking, actually taking Morgan Whittaker up to the Riverside. Massive move for him. Great for the football club financially to get over £6 million for him. And it'll be interesting to see how they two play today, because it's one of them, when you play against your old club, you want to perform. You want to, really make a statement. Let's just see what those two do this afternoon.
Yeah, I mean, it's not quite worked out as he would have wanted since he's gone yet. Morgan Whittaker, yet to score, got 1 assist. But as you said, when you're playing against your old team, it sometimes might just take something like that. And I think when he joined Swansea from Derby, he scored against Derby at the first opportunity. He scored against Swansea for us last year. So he clearly likes playing against sides.
Yeah, let's hope that's not an omen which is going to continue. But I agree. I think the move for him was a great move. I mean, we've seen some of these finishes here. Magnificent finishes. He used to come in from that right side on his favourite left foot. It's a rare header from there, but it could change games. And some magnificent goals here. There really were, which was huge when he was at Argyle. And at Middlesbrough, perhaps hasn't just quite clicked for him yet. maybe it takes a little bit of time to settle, and he hasn't had as many starts, as many goals as you'd like, and that's down to him personally. He wants to put that right, and I'm sure he wants to put on a good display against his old side this afternoon.
Yeah, just a quick one on Finn Azaz as well. He's really shone this season. He's been one of their star players. 10 goals, 11 assists for Middlesbrough. He's pretty much their one creative spark that's been consistent this year. And sometimes it takes having a little bit of a distraction of another player like Morgan Whittaker to draw a couple of players towards him. He could be the one that causes the dangers today, mate.
He really could. I think just seeing the highlights here, some of his goals, magnificent goals. He said finds those pockets and makes things happen, drives into spaces, great feet, and certainly got an eye for goal, arrives in good positions. But he can sell, with both feet as well. He knows where the goal is, and he's a real threat. And I think he has been one of the stars for Middlesbrough this season. And he's certainly going to be a threat this afternoon.
Yeah, 2 former Argyle players, and to keep us worried throughout the afternoon. They haven't scored in their last couple of games, though, Mark. So it's a little bit like Sheffield United coming into this game. They'd lost 2 straight 1-0 wins. They'd kind of hit a little bit of a buffer. And Middlesbrough appear to be in that same shape as well. They've been frustrated. They were frustrated last week in their loss against Millwall. Yeah,
it's difficult, try to turn it around, because if you start the form sort of leaves you at this stage of the season when it's so important with 4 games to go, when you've got so much to play for, especially if they win, they know they could potentially get back into playoff positions. But Sheffield United is key. Sheffield United probably feel now that Leeds and Burnley are going to get them automatic promotion places. And that will affect players, it really will, because if you haven't quite made it, you've got to get over that, that really disappointment and continue. And the other teams are coming into really good form at the right time of the season, the tail end of the season. And Middlesbrough just found it a little bit difficult last couple of games. They've lost a couple. They know they need to win. It's at home in front of their home fans. So, yeah, potentially a bit of pressure on them this afternoon. Yeah, they'll definitely be targeting this game for sure as a victory. As for Argyle, though, Miron Mislic was pumped after that 2-1 victory against Sheffield United on Saturday. It's their second win in their last 3 matches. But still, Miron Mislic wants to see better from his side on the road. He caught up with me a little earlier this week to talk about this Easter doubleheader. We've heard you say that quite a lot. Cool mind, stay calm. And it's one of those things that, as someone who's not in the game, you think it's probably quite difficult to do when in the stands emotions are so high. People watching it are so they know how much is at stake. So for a player to, and yourself actually, to remain cool-minded can't be easy, I imagine.
No, it's not, because the game is just, you can be on top, okay? You can be on top, you can be the opponent can be completely on you and dominating you, and it's about just finding a good balance, finding a calmness, finding that we can actually also dominate and control the rhythm of the game for us, but also against us. And there are also some patterns and some things where you can also adjust and turn those kind of those rhythms and those moments, and this will be important for us to remain calm, big heart, but cool mind. If we can manage to do this, we have all the chances to reach our goal. A lot is always made of games around Easter in the UK, and probably all around of Europe anyway, because it's so close to the end of the season, and these games come so quickly after each other. So one day on the Friday you could be in the mix, and then 2 days later you're out of it. I don't know whether you can think ahead to the Coventry game or beyond, but it feels like just a really pivotal but exciting weekend, doesn't it? It is, and believe me, it's only in England. In Europe, it's believe me, it's not like this. So the schedule here is heavy. The schedule here is almost crazy, and that's why we need to be there and to pick it up, because incredible things can happen in those quickly turnovers, and we have to be there to pick those moments. Yeah, just quickly on Middlesbrough as a team, we mentioned that they are there fighting for the playoffs. What's your opinion of them and how they are? First of all, 2 former Argyle players with a lot of individual quality left and right, with Finn and with Morgan. In my opinion, the best team in possession, the best team with the ball. Very dominant, very structured when they have the ball, but also things where we can hurt them if we do our things right, and our setup is structured. So we're gonna face another heavyweight opponent, especially away. But it's also a pattern throughout the whole season, especially since January. Against the big teams, we are collecting points. Why not again on Friday?
It's interesting you make that point at the end there, Mark, about that he feels, as a few supporters have said actually, that we actually tend to do well against better sides. You know, if you look at the form since he's been in, obviously beat Liverpool, beat West Brom, beat Millwall, they're all playoff chasers, beat Sheffield United, Middlesbrough today a playoff chaser. Games we've lost have been like Derby, Cardiff, drew with Cardiff, drew with Luton, drew with Oxford, you know, sides that are in and around you. So I don't know, maybe playing quote unquote better teams suits the way in which Argyle want to play.
Which is incredible really, because I think the Swansea game was was probably the worst we've seen for a long time, but then they go back up with Sheffield United. So it's just been so many twists and turns throughout the season. And like you said, probably one of the best teams in possession. And if we can match them and go up and get a result against them today, then I don't know what the ingredient is, what's missing, because if you can get some consistency, ultimately we probably wouldn't be in this position.
That's a key word, isn't it? Consistency.
Yeah, 100%.
Like throughout the season, you need to have some element of consistency, and Argyle's consistency has been that they've not had any.
No, I think it just went on too long. These away defeats just were always going to come back and hurt us, and they certainly have now. We find ourselves fighting for our lives just to keep in the league or keep our championship status. You can't allow that to go on, and it continued, it festered too long, and that's what we was always talking about on the show. And then obviously our home form was magnificent at times, and we managed to get some big wins here at home park. But you have to relieve that pressure by just trying to get something on the road. You go there with a point, can you come back with a point? And who knows, a couple of points throughout the season might have been enough or could be enough to keep us up.
Just very quickly on him, and I just wanted to make this point on the form that Argyle have shown since he's come to the club. 17 league games, 5 wins. Basically, we'd be 14th in the table if it was counted from him. And obviously, that's not how football works, so it doesn't mean anything. But I think it shows that there's been some sort of improvement.
Yeah, definitely improved for sure. And I think structurally we've seen that when he got the 2 defenders in. Katic came in. Obviously, he was a huge difference. And we did tighten up. We become very hard to beat. But then all of a sudden we started conceding goals again. So yes, we did come hard to beat. But then obviously that took probably away a bit of our flair and our opportunities to go and create chances enough to win the games. At times we had opportunities, but we just didn't quite take them. And I think so. It's trying to get that balance again, where become hard to beat, try to keep a clean sheet. But when that chance presents itself at the other end, obviously Bundu and Ryan Hardy are in great form, and their goals has probably kept us in the fight as well. Because Hardy's come back and 2 magnificent goals, obviously against Norwich, and he's been really, really important. But he's got to try to find that balance. So yes, become hard to beat, but also when it presents itself, take the chance.
Yeah. Right, let's go to the Middlesbrough, get the Middlesbrough perspective now. Michael Carrick's come under a little bit of scrutiny of late, exemplified by the last couple of defeats, Leeds and against Millwall. So how is he feeling ahead of this afternoon's game?
You talked about making a difference. Now that your place in the playoffs isn't guaranteed, of course, and you kind of rely on other teams to fail, is it a case of you can't afford to drop a single point in the final few games of the season?
Well, not totally. If we win all our games, then we've obviously got Coventry to play. So we're not necessarily relying on other teams to fail. I think it's we're still in there, and I've said it. I think 4 games feels quite quick and not long left, but there's a lot that can go on in that time. There's a lot that could go on over this weekend. 2 games in 4 days. There's a lot that can change and flip in different directions, and that's in a matter of days. And even in one game on Friday, it's a really big game for us. Obviously, it's a big game for Plymouth. A lot can go on during the game, and there's ups and downs, and there's all sorts of waves with it. So at the moment, we're focusing on one game at a time as a group, because we know what it can look like and how quickly it can go in different directions.
Well, I know you talked about their league position being irrelevant, Michael. Obviously, when you're down there, you're scrapping for your lives, and clearly their recent results show that. I mean, is that going to be a factor on Friday in terms of needing a match or even better, that kind of fight that they'll naturally?
Yeah, and I think that's, when I say irrelevant, I think that's the actual position's irrelevant, but it can the emotion and what the feeling of the game doesn't feel like there's Doesn't always feel like that's the case in terms of league position. I think it brings a different side to the game, you know, and we've all got our own agenda. We've all striving to do that. We've got an awful lot to play for, and an awful lot that means to us, that we, you know, that drive and that desire to kind of make it happen for ourselves. But we totally understand and respect the position that Plymouth are in as well, and the emotions that they're bringing to the game. So it's a big part of the game, you know. We've got to understand that, we've got to feel it, we've got to go through that, and that's part of these games, bigger games, when there's so much on. It's who deals with it the best.
Yeah, Michael Carrick. Obviously, we've kind of spoken about it quite a lot in the build-up already, but you know, there is the pressure there. He's talking about not focusing on what's happening on Monday. They've got Coventry to play, one of their direct rivals for the playoffs, on the final game of the season. He just needs to get back to some sort of winning way, doesn't he, Middlesbrough?
Yeah, I think obviously with his experience, he doesn't look any further than the next game, so he knows Plymouth are fighting for their lives. They're coming up. He knows it's going to be tough, but he then's got to focus on his own team. As you said, they lost against Leeds and Millwall. They've got to get back to winning ways if they want to keep in those playoffs and around the playoffs. And then when they do get into the playoffs, if they have won the last couple of games, they know they're going into the playoffs in really good form. So he knows what's at stake. Unbelievable player in his day, and great experience. So he'll need that to help his side try to get into the playoffs.
Just a quick one on what you're expecting today then. I mean, can we even begin to guess what might happen in an Argyle game these days?
I think we've tried so many times, Charlie, together and failed miserably. I think after the Sheffield United game, they must be full of confidence, because that was a magnificent performance, and the confidence must flow. But I thought that before they went up to Swansea, when they had another magnificent result against Norwich. And so who knows? Let's hope they can go up there and perform. They need to perform. They know what position they're in. They know points are so vital at this stage of the season, because games ultimately will run out.
Yeah, absolutely. If they win today, Argyle, they could go level on points with Derby, who are the side just outside those relegation places. That's how close it is. That is how crucial it is. But they do have to get the job done. We're done with all of the build-up. Match is on its way. If you haven't got your match passes yet, head to our website, pafc.co.uk. Nathan Alban and Lee Makel are standing by for commentary at the Riverside. And Argyle's trip to Middlesbrough is next.